Hey everybody, welcome to another Retro Game Night. I am Damian DeCarlo. I am player one with player two here, Earl Lawrence. What's going on, man?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I am so good, just hanging out, just another day, talk about really cool stuff in the retro gaming world. But we also have player three today. Michael Losi, what's going on?
How's it going, guys? Really stoked for today's episode.
Same.
Yeah.
Judging by our wallpapers, if you're watching the YouTube, you know what we're going to talk about. This is going to be a coverage, a complete review of the Super Mario Brothers movie 2023. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
Is that like a long-awaited day that gamers have waited to see what was going to happen with said movie, given that we've had just a few retro gaming-based movies back in the 90s that were not that great, more nostalgic if anything, but if you look back at the quality, we needed some updating. So we definitely have a good movie to talk about in terms of lots of material. So let's get started. Super Mario Brothers 2023 just got released at the time of this recording. We're in April. This is doing really well. The box office, the budget was $100 million so far in the box office. $729.5 million it's been getting in. Great cast. We have Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, Keegan-Michael Key, Seth Rogen, Fred Armisen. I mean, talk about a packed casting here. Like, there's just so many cool people. So let's do it. Let's dive in. I want to talk a little bit about first initial reactions. We get to the theater, we're stoked, we're seeing the Super Mario Brothers movie, we sit down, we see the Nintendo logo. What are you guys thinking?
Dude, pure excitement, the adrenaline, just the hype up to it also. It's like that. You're plugging in a video game and you're ready to play it. This one, I was sitting in the movie theater and just ready to just go after it and just, see all the Easter eggs and everything that they have going on, trying to as if you're playing a video game too, and they have those shots in the movie which had the side-scrolling effect. But yeah, we could go more in depth in it. I think they overall did a great job. Again, from the intro, you're drawn in with the Bowser castle, or with Bowser coming and invading this other castle, and yeah.
That was pretty cool. We incorporated right away the penguins, which were notably from the new Super Mario Brothers U from the Wii U system. I believe that was the introduction of them. If I'm wrong, it might be Mario Party. But Losi, how about you? What were some of the first reactions when you saw it?
Oh, huge. I think the atmosphere, like Earl said, there was just like this atmosphere, right? In general, there's like this huge hype. You can tell everyone was excited. I could probably speak for both of us in that we both live near LA, right? And I work right outside Universal Studios. So the whole buildup I kind of saw even up to this movie, right? You had all the billboards. They had City Walk, of course, and their store already opened up, which I visited. So you could tell like there was, this is going to be a big deal. And when I showed up to the movie theater, I could just tell everyone was excited to see it. And like Earl said, like as soon as you saw that Nintendo logo, it was just like, it's game on, right? Like, let's do this. And yeah, it was really fun.
I wonder if they were afraid of failure, because I mean, be real, a lot of the video game movies we've seen, other than Sonic, which we've reviewed, you and I, Earl, didn't do well. So I mean, Sonic did well, but that wasn't Nintendo, that's Sega. But still, like, I can see some nerves coming in with this, and I would only assume it's a big risk. You have a new park opening, you have a movie that you spent so much money on, but now we have it. So we go into the movie, we see a lot of stuff, a lot of man, there's just so many cameos, so many things. Losi, you took a lot of good notes. I want to know what you noticed that we can talk about in the movie. There's just so many things that were brought up.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just even before the movie started, right? I just noticed this was a huge time for Nintendo just take advantage of the opportunity, though. If you look, almost half of like the credits, like they talked about the Nintendo Switch Online service. They talked about the Zelda series. I noticed, the kind of making taking advantage of Tears of the Kingdom upcoming, right? That's going to be
Right.
the biggest release this year. So they definitely took advantage of that. And having this partnership with Illumination, I was thinking to myself the entire time, like, what is going to be next, right? And then after seeing this movie, I can only imagine and I can only hope more is to come. And obviously, we kind of have the benefit now. It's been a couple weeks since the release. And I think you were just talking about, we didn't know what the expectations were. We were actually kind of even maybe afraid of failure, I think, a little bit, right?
Right.
And with that being said, it's blown the box office out of the water way more than expectations. And
Right.
that is really cool to see. I think we have all seen it more than once.
Yeah, we have.
Which
Yeah.
in
We've all seen it more
itself,
than once.
That's true.
so I mean, that speaks a lot in itself. And so, I mean, this first time I was just sitting there and loving it and enjoying it and just kind of just taking it all in, right? It was a lot to take in, just being a Super Mario fan. But the second time, like you said, I did take notes, actually, kind of nerded out.
Yeah.
And dude, there was literally there was so much to write down. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like it's really hard to write in the dark, and my handwriting is chicken scratch as it is.
Yeah.
But I'm just like with my cell phone, like, dude, Easter egg here,
Some
Easter
dude in the
egg
audience
there.
looking at you, just shaking his head, like, please.
Right.
I was in the back row in the corner on purpose.
There you
Yeah.
go. And it was such a mixed crowd, like, again, we'll just say, a child movie or a kid movie or, a cartoon, you would expect, a bunch of kids. No, there was a lot of grown-ups there. And I think that's also what ties into their marketing. They didn't have to throw this in front of you and say, like Mario, Mario, Mario. Everyone knew, again, what Mario comes with, the prestige it has. So you're already intrigued by it, and you don't have to. Again, the marketing team already knows that there's a large audience for the game and for the franchise of Super Mario. That, again, going to the movie theater and seeing a bunch of different age groups enjoying it. Yeah, I watched it twice. Once solo, and then the other one with my daughter, who she loved it. And she immediately wanted to go home and be like, hey, can I play Mario? I'm like, yeah, of course you can play Mario. And
That's the beautiful thing about it. Like, we're kind of more on the sidelines checking out, I guess, a younger generation, what they think of it. There's obviously now new Mario games. There has been for a while, mainly on the Switch, but kids are playing it still. They're seeing the roots when we react. So, like, if we see something and they're like, well, what is that? What do you mean? Like, what? Like, for instance, the guy that was kind of being a bully to Mario and Luigi, we got the guy with a Wrecking Crew hat that we all know was a game back in 1985, 86. I'm a little sketchy here on the year, but I mean, great video game. And kids may not know that, so it was definitely an aim to the adults there.
yeah,
Damien, I wanted to bring this up, and I just I watched your panel when your last Comic Con down in LA, and I know one thing you had talked about, and that was kind of the resurgence of how we survived the pandemic, right? And I think one of those vital pieces was the resurgence of a lot of our nostalgia, right? And a lot of that was just some of these pinnacle franchises that have stuck around, such as Mario. And I'm just kind of got like a conspiracy theory, but I'm just wondering if that had somewhat of a play on this. And if they saw that, this is one of those titles that's sticking around. Their parents, this is how they're surviving the pandemic. They're getting their kids into it. Let's maybe there is an opportunity here. And that's just something I had
That's a
thought
really
of,
good
though,
point there.
watching your panel.
I agree. Losi, I think you have a very good point. I think that the pandemic brought out, obviously a lot of horrible things involved with the pandemic, but also a lot of good. There was a lot of time to self-reflect. There was a lot of time to work on yourself. There was a lot of time to catch up with family, with whatever your hobbies were. And for a lot of people, going back to a comfort zone was retro gaming. That was more or less what I explained when we talked about that. And for me, retro gaming was that, like, sort of that cozy gray comfort feeling. And that probably did very well during that period of time. And people got a refresher during that. And so with that, and then the Switch bringing back a lot of the retro games, I think you're right. I think a lot of that played on the pandemic. Earl, you did a lot of gaming too during that. Is that something that you felt was part of this whole movement?
For sure. And, to tie it in with the movie, they had, again, paid homage to a lot of the classic games. Like, from the beginning, Punch Out Pizzeria, I believe that. Yeah,
That's
Punch Out
right, Punch Out
Pizzeria.
Pizzeria.
And you're looking at the back walls and you're seeing these posters, and it's all clips of Punch Out. So at that point, you're like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. You're gonna see a lot of different games that they're gonna pay homage to. And another one that I saw was actually Mario was playing Kid Icarus when he
Right?
goes upstairs and he's playing video game. And from there, you're seeing all these other video games. You're seeing the F-Zero poster behind him. You're seeing the Star Fox diecast model ship right on top of the TV, and you're like, dude, that's the Star Fox ship. And it's just, it goes on and on. And I know there was a, looking up the restaurant names that I was checking out too. There was a French restaurant that was called I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, Chasse au Canard, which translate to hunting ducks. And
No
the logo
way.
was the duck. Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
catch that. That's hilarious, Duck
And
Hunt.
I was like, dude, I even wrote the name down. I was like, okay, cool. What's this restaurant? That is so cool. It has to tie into something. At that point, you're seeing things. And that, I Googled it and I translated it. It says duck hunting. And I was like, dude, that's freaking awesome, man. And another one was, I had notes here, and Michael's Losi's screen behind him. It was the burger restaurant, Castle Burger joint.
Yes,
when
I noticed
he's
that.
going to it's just right behind him. He's going in the flagpole when he's at the end of the stage, and that's how it looked like, from it translating. You're like, oh, that's like a video game.
Slides down that lamppost, I want to say, and it's like a take on the flag, the image right behind you, Losi. All that was just so brilliantly done that it was subtle enough to be like, did they just? Yeah, I think they just did that, and it's almost like it goes a little quick for you because you're taking everything else in at that point. So let's talk about the music, because going to that, I noticed this composer, his music score had all these undertones of Super Mario Brothers, like all the franchise, multiple games. There was little portions of like the Fortress music. It was like you're under the underworld where you're searching for stuff beneath the sewers or inside the sewers. It was all these undertones that brought you back to the game. It was directly linked to that.
When they introduced the Rainbow Road, and you could hear the music playing too, and they're going through it, you're just like, oh man. And I remember scenes you would jump, because you would fall off, obviously, but there are some parts in the game where you could do a shortcut and you would fall off the track and you would land on another side of track, and that actually played out in the movie. Just brilliant with everything that they did and how they tied that in, and the music. Crazy enough, there's a lot of 80s rock.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're just like, how does this tie in? But again, it brings that nostalgic back, and you're like, oh, look at this. They're playing all these songs. They had a Kill Bill song too when they're getting ready for battle. And I was just like, this is cool.
Everything kind of just fit in, right? It just like all played. It was like it was a good mixture of, like you were saying, 80s, early 90s songs. I wrote some of them down, like the Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. The Thunderstruck, AC/DC, and I Need a Hero by Bonnie Tyler. And I was just like, dude, everything played out so well. But then, of course, you had Jack Black playing Bowser, right? And of course,
here we go, the Jack Black
song. Wow, like let's talk about like potential award winners. Even this is like some really good stuff
for Academy Award, guys. Like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, the piano, the underground theme. When I heard that, that was fun. But then the Peaches song, I mean, it's like, it was one hit after the next, and that was so cool.
Okay, so the music that I noticed, and this is something that will totally date me. I mean, we're on a retro gaming podcast, so anyway, whatever. I don't care about that. But the commercial for the plumbing business, that music was, if you were a '90s kid and you remember it, it was in the OG Super Mario Super Show, and it was on. Oh man, what channel? I want to say it could have been Fox 11. If you're in Channel 11, that music was the theme song to that show. And they just completely, just blatantly played homage in that, just like, wow, just totally hit you on the face. Like, I remember this.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very subtle on that one. It was definitely paying tribute to a great show. That was live action mixed with the animated show of Mario. So it was really cool to see that throwback, and
with the cheesy
It was nice and
with the
cheesy too,
cheesy
just
sound
like the
effects.
show. The show was just as cheesy as that commercial, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But we as kids in the '90s, I mean, we just literally soaked up anything we had that was related to gaming or comics or whatever on TV.
Yeah.
But I think that was awesome. They played homage to that. Props for you guys, Nintendo, for doing that. That was great.
Just
Now,
in case you're wondering, that number doesn't work on the commercial. I did try that.
you called the number on the screen.
I wrote that down. I was like, I have to call this number.
Did you go to the website? Wasn't there a website?
There is
SMB Plumbing?
a functional website, and it's just a kind of a fun parody. I definitely recommend checking out. It was the smbplumbing.com. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The whole scene played out so well to introduce their business, because that was very much like what reminded me at this point. I'm thinking, okay, you're like the 1993 Super Mario movie. You see the two main characters in that film having hardships over their business, trying to get it started or getting getting their business going to where it's productive and profitable. And that's the same play they did on this. It was the same thing. They're trying to find work. They land the job. We get an awesome, funny scene with the stupid dog that was trying to bite them. And but then again, in the dog's defense, I guess I want to say it was Mario that did it. I can't remember. Stepped on his bone, and so pissed the dog
Luigi.
off.
I think Luigi was one that stepped on the bone, and the dog just turned like, and you're like, oh, here we go.
I mean, you already start seeing where it's going. You see the film's vibe. You're seeing that it's going in a form of, okay, this is going to be complete comedy. It's great. It's not just going to be what would be a kid's movie. It's adults will laugh too. And I was laughing really hard. I thought it was great. So props on that. I think that was another props here, is that the comedy was well done. I mean, going back to the music, when you go to that piano of Bowser playing Peaches, 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 I think that, I mean, the director must have just said, can you just do this scene as Jack Black? Like, you don't have to be Bowser in this part, just be Jack Black. And he's like, okay. He does what he does best. He does a little singing, song and dancing. And I picture Jack Black on the microphone literally dancing or something as he's doing it. So I think that was great.
I think what really stood out was the character development for each person, right? So you have Mario, the big brother, you have Luigi, the younger brother. They had cutback scenes of, someone smashing or taking the flag off of Luigi's, his castle that he built, and you have Mario step up, and it kind of played throughout the movie. Luigi gets lost in the dark world, and Mario is, is going to try to save, he's looking to save his brother. I thought that was really cool. And then it leads to, Princess Peach finding herself like she, I don't know what the story was in the past or how she became part of this fake world or, an imaginary world. And you just see that she was raised up by the Toads and, all those different things. And then you go to this freaking Bowser guy, and kind of cringeworthy when he's talking about how much he wants to marry Princess Peach. And there's a scene when someone yelled from the crowd, well, she doesn't like you, and he's just like, but you'll love me, and you're just kind of like, that's kind of creepy, but sure. And it just plays it just really shows different character types throughout this that you don't get from the video game. You're now learning it from a movie. You just have Bowser's the bad guy, but actually there's layers to these characters, and you're seeing how it's going out on film. And the Donkey Kong world too, he plays this, he's all fun, and here's I'm buff guy, kind of remind me of like the Gronkowski, right? He's just kind of like just likes to have fun, this big dude. Diddy Kong, that was really cool seeing Diddy Kong, Donkey Kong's dad too. There's just a lot of things with the characters. Yeah, I wish I did see Yoshi. I know we didn't see Green Yoshi. There's a scene when we could see the Yoshi's running in the background, but I'm sure something's gonna come out with the next one with Yoshi, because there is a scene when they're getting married, or the married scene, and they're bringing gifts, and one of them is a green Yoshi egg. So
no kidding, they showed it in that scene. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I did notice that it was a green spotted egg, and so I was like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think what Earl was saying though, they paid all the characters and how they also are reflected in other franchises, right? So like, you were mentioning the Donkey Kong, right? You saw the Jungle
Mhm.
Kingdom,
Yeah.
but then you also had like Luigi and Luigi's Mansion, right? You kind of had that scene where he was with
Yeah.
his flashlight, and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. But yeah, and then the last one I also remember was the Rainbow Road, right? That scene was awesome,
Mhm.
and paying homage to Mario Kart when they're able to like customize their carts each, and press start, and of
Yeah.
course Toad is loading up on the monster truck, and it was just
Customizing to the sound of ACDCs.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Even with the
So
battle scene there, they had what you played with Mario Kart when you did the battle scene. You had these shells that you would throw at people, and you see a lot of the bananas being dropped in these cars
Blue
that are just
shells.
squirrely and
yeah.
crashy, and they did the spin, right? So, when you get a banana, you kind of go off to this turn and you spin out. But, dude, there's just so many cool effects that they added to this movie that was
You even
all
had the
part of the
shortcut.
gameplay. Yeah.
You had the shortcut on Rainbow Road. Yeah.
So I think that I'll venture to say I didn't really think about it till right now, but so there's a lot of the Mario games that the younger generation may not know, i.e., Mario 1, 2, or 3, let's say, some of
Mhm.
those games, or even like a Game Boy game of Mario, the references, let's say if they had any. But I think universally, it caught every generation Mario Kart, now that you bring it up. I think it got those that were older already still playing hardcore because they weren't quite old. They were still young enough to get into still games. Um, and then the kids got into Mario Kart at the same time that were of a newer generation. So I think the references in Mario Kart were probably very, very well received because that is like the main one people played together competitively. I really, really am happy that they did a pretty long scene. I'll say long and in terms of other parts that were quick, but the entire Mario Kart part was really cool. The scenes of Mario Kart were great. Let's see. So we have a potential Oscar nomination, which is insane. I love that. We have this movie doing well in the box office. Let's critique a little bit more. Chris Pratt. How do we feel about Chris Pratt as Mario? I know there were some initially some not so good reviews, not reviews, but more like well received by the fans when they heard it was him. When especially they heard he wasn't going to do the Italian accent, and yet as we watched it, he did end up doing it in the
Mhm.
commercial. So, like, what do we think there? Let's start with you, Losi. What do you think of Chris Pratt as Mario now that you've seen it a few times?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Chris Pratt in general, right, is a great actor, and I think everyone was a little leery that you have to have an iconic Mario voice. If you're gonna be doing that role, it just has to fit. And so I took that criticism. I think it was well deserved going into the movie, but after seeing the performance, I never really even thought about it. It never really,
Right.
I kind of found myself really just falling into the movie really quick and forgetting that was even something that was a potential, I don't know, failure for this movie. But I didn't see that, and I think Chris Pratt did an amazing job. I think majority of the roles in this movie were done very well. I did have one character where it did take me, I would say, that second time to watch, where I'd be like, okay, now I feel a little bit more comfortable with this, but it did take me a second time for I'll just say Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Earl, what would you say going to Chris Pratt here for Mario? Your take on it?
I think, well, for a star lead role with Mario, I don't think he stepped up to the plate as much. Where I think he was outshined with Jack Black. He
Right.
was outshined even by Luigi in some points where I could remember more, of those scenes. You just know Mario, okay, Mario's the main guy. But like we were talking about too, not having the accent throughout, it's it's not a make or break for me. I still think he did an amazing job and he played his role well enough where the whole cast is able to shine, and I think that's why it's like he probably took a step back in this role. He's not like the main lead guy and that had to do everything and try to be something. I think he just knew what Mario is, and that's why I'm comfortable with it because again, it let me see more people like Jack Black and
Anya.
Anya Taylor Joy, Anya Taylor Joy's Peach, and I and again, Charlie Day is Luigi. I think that's where it makes it better. He's more of like the let's bring people together instead of, well, no, I'm the main guy and let me do all this stuff. I think he did a really good job. You know, even without the accent, I don't know who was the other lead roles, and maybe you guys know who was going to be up for Mario, but I didn't research or find out to see who else was, you know, potential Marios.
Yeah.
Um, which,
I,
you know, and I heard you get critiqued for it, or he's getting critiqued for it, but let me know
yeah.
the other people that were on that very short list, probably, you know, that could do better. But I think he killed it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like you, I'm not aware of other people that were in the running up for that role, but I'm sure there was a good, amount of people that tried out. So Chris Pratt initially, when I heard it was going to be him, yeah, I'll be honest, I felt like I don't know if he's right for it, just because no hate on him at all. Mario is a big shoe to fill as far as the type of character for me personally, just because you're spearheading not just a Mario franchise. I'll say it. You're going to spearhead Nintendo. Like you're going to spearhead it. So I had to think about this. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess I'll see when I see the movie. And to agree with both of you, he completely killed it. I absolutely killed it. Great performance. He didn't need the accent. I was like, wow. As I watched this, I was thinking, he's not doing that Italian accent that people were complaining about, and I really don't care. Like, I think it sounds great. I think it sounds what I would imagine Mario would be in 2023.
Yeah.
And I think he's obviously a very good choice. Everybody knows Chris Pratt. The studios know that he has a following. It's going to bring in a certain amount of people, given what's happened with him in Marvel specifically. I mean, if you go into that franchise, he's pulled in a lot of audience and fans with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think he was a great choice. Luigi, Charlie Day, Losi, tell me what you thought of him for Luigi.
Yeah, I really liked Luigi, honestly. I think Charlie Day did a great job. I feel like Charlie Day in general is just polarizing actor. Either like or didn't like him from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I did like that show, so maybe I am biased.
Right.
I think he did a really good job. I think he was definitely like Earl said, he actually had some moments where, I think he was kind of the one shining and had some of those lead sayings and statements. So I think he did good.
Earl, how about you? What do you say?
Yeah.
What say you on that?
Like I said, I think Charlie Day did great. You know, there's that character that he was able to kind of bring into this real life, bring into the screen, and I'll do a comparison really with, the other movie that we critiqued, which is Sonic, right? So, Ben Schwartz, Sonic the Hedgehog, kind of equal to, well, obviously, like not a bigger name as we have with Chris Pratt, but you have to work with other individuals, like how he did it with Jim Carrey, right? So Jim Carrey for Sonic as what's the bad guy's name for Sonic? Shoot,
No, I'm just gonna let you suffer. I'm gonna let you
Robotnik.
Suffer.
There you go. There you go. I'm like, it's shifting gears between Mario and Sonic. Yeah, it's not coming in a little bit. But like the same thing. That you have this exuberant character in Mr. Robotnik, played by Jim Carrey. You have this exuberant person, Jack Black, playing Bowser. I think it made it work, and then the supporting cast around it. And I don't even want to call them supporting cast, but the whole cast as a general, I think they gelled well. They made the movie what it is. Charlie Day stepped up and was the character that you want to fall in love with. This Luigi guy, he's fragile. He's putting himself out there, and you have this abrasive Mario. Well, not as abrasive, but he's the protector of Luigi, and Luigi just is like, he plays that role. And when you see him step up at the end scene, when he gets the sewer to block Bowser's fire, and you just see, the connection, and then they get the star power, and you could see they just both, as they're going through, and they're, yeah, I think they worked out together, and you could see where Luigi stepped up at the end, and yeah,
literally.
Boom. Yeah, literally. They were just
my take with Mr. Charlie Day is that it's interesting. I have to say this carefully because I want to make sure it comes out right. I am a big fan of Charlie Day. I absolutely love Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I absolutely love the tone of his unique voice. I most of my friends even know I can nail an impression. That's how much I love doing.
Do it. You have to do
Not
it.
gonna do it. No, no. I'm
You
too
have
busy
to
with
do it.
supervision. Another time, blooper reel maybe later.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what I'm gonna say on it though is that he actually did a good job not sounding Charlie Day, if that makes sense. He didn't have his usual tone. He didn't have his usual catchphrases or phonetics of the way it is. It's like he just delivered it as it should have been. That's where I think he did an amazing job, because it's like you can get Seth Rogen. We'll get to Seth Rogen in a minute. He acted like Seth Rogen, and we'll get into a little bit about Donkey Kong. But with Luigi, you got a guy that has a very unique and very trademark sound, and yet he did it so that it didn't quite sound so him. It was sounded like most likely what I would think he was thinking. I want to sound like a Luigi. Like I want to sound like what I know of it in the gaming world and the cartoons, whatever. So huge props to Mr. Charlie Day for not being so Charlie Day.
I think Nintendo did a good job on this at reinforcing that they're from Brooklyn, right? So these are just American guys that are from, they're Italian American. They're not, so they, so I think they reinforced that just well enough to, we're like, again, where you never really thought about it. So,
now that I brought up Seth Rogen, how do we feel about Donkey Kong's voice, guys? What do you, Losi, let's go with you on that one. I want to know what you think. I think you mentioned it before with me when we talked about it. What's your take?
Yeah. I know when he first enters that scene, right? When he jumps in and he yells and screams, and you're just like, oh man, or is that that's Seth Rogen, obviously. There's only one voice, right? That can be. And it just took me a little bit. Like I said, I was just kind of taken back by it. He just went full force Seth Rogen. I didn't feel like there was any attempt to be Donkey Kong.
Right.
But again, as the movie kind of went on and I kind of just saw how they were playing out that character, it did make sense. And it did slowly start building on me. But that initial scene, man, like I said, it took me back a little bit. So I was just, I had to get warm to it. Let's just say that.
Earl.
Yeah, I will echo what Mike said too. With Seth Rogen, you expect hilarity, but then you have this machismo kind of monkey, gorilla, and he plays this, and like I said earlier, like this Gronk type from this big buff monkey. But we know Seth Rogen too. He's a cool guy, right? So it's he's probably high when he recorded some. I don't know. But I don't know. But it good. Again, with the whole cast, I think it worked well together. I don't know, thinking about it now, like who would then play a better Donkey Kong? Definitely not Idris Elba, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's
busy being Knuckles right now, so
that's right. Another Sonic reference. But yeah, him and Seth Rogen, even when they're lining up with the cars and he just goes to Mario and he's like, I hate you. That's total Seth Rogen. Yeah, just I hate you. That's like, okay, Seth Rogen's like, I hate you. He probably says it in every movie, I think it was he was above par. He did good.
I think that it was, I had forgotten or I didn't know, one or the other, but either way, I was a little taken back, just like Losi, when I heard Donkey Kong talk. I'm like, oh, Seth Rogen. And at that point, I was really paying attention, because I'm like, how's he gonna do this? And he, I was on board with it. The thing that got me to crack up, I felt like I had an out of experience moment for a minute, is when you hear Donkey Kong do the Seth Rogen laugh. That's when I'm like, there's a Seth Rogen giggle. It was funny because it's like I laugh because I know that that's Seth Rogen doing his usual laugh that we hear. Same time, I'm also like, is that Donkey Kong? I don't know, but okay, I'm laughing, guys. Like I'm laughing here, so I'm gonna let it slide. Like it entertained me. Would Seth Rogen have been my first choice? No, he wouldn't have been. But I think he did really good with making me feel Like it's okay. Like it's I like you so much that it's okay.
Yeah, I was hoping Donkey Kong would be more of like a surfer accent, like just like
Yeah,
chill, like a
yeah.
Donkey Kong, yeah, kind of lazy. But he was just very like, oh, here's my pecs and all this
Very
stuff. And
macho.
yeah,
Yeah.
very macho. Again, yeah, I would him to say like awesome or cowabunga, whatever. I think it would have been cool to get like a surfer type Donkey Kong, just because I'm thinking now of the TNC Surf. But that's
They could have
different.
just gotten Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mario, I gotta tell you something. No, so the two more characters I want to just review before we move on to the next portion, but we got Anya Taylor-Joy, so Peach. Um, I'll start off this one. Peach to me is a very important character. It's the whole reason why Mario is doing what he's doing. In most of the games, I should say, and she killed it in a way where I knew it was her that was doing it. I'm a big fan of her
Mhm.
stuff, and I completely forgot it was her throughout that whole time. She just sounded like Peach from the video game because there was portions where she would talk, and I mean, she killed it. She just like, wow, I really forgot that that was you, even though
Mhm.
I knew it was you that was in that movie. And she's a phenomenal actress. I mean, she's just she's got like a whole thing going for her where her acting skill is just I would never picture her being like in this movie by choice. I would think that the studios begged Anya Taylor
Yeah.
Joy, like, please be a part of it. You're an amazing actress, and she did. She did an amazing job. Do you guys feel the same, or how do we feel about Peach here?
I love the fact that it was Anya Taylor-Joy. She, again, Queen's Gambit, like you, big fan of,
Yeah,
all of her work. And it really set the tone, like how delicate Peach is. And it's this princess that, obviously everyone wants to marry, like Bowser, creepy Bowser.
maybe Bowser
Um,
wants to do it no matter what.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's so cringe, man. But I think she nailed it, and there were there were parts of this of the movie when I actually can picture her. Like although we see Peach Princess, like you can picture her doing like that, like it's her, but it's a cartoon version of her. But you could definitely feel it through the scenes that she was in, and teaching Mario and having the patience to kind of go through this whole map phase and teaching him how to what these power-ups are and how she's gets the fire and starts the fire and all these little things, and you just see how much she knows, like knowledge wise, in this Mario world. And no, I'm saying Mario world in the mushroom world, her kingdom. She's definitely has this, and I don't know how old she is, and I know I think we had this conversation, how old's Peach? Is she's old enough to get married and whatever the case may be, but yeah, she's the princess. She's their, she's the ruler. And I think she just played the part well. And you have that like, oh, utmost respect because she's just so cool.
Cool and a
Yeah, I have
badass.
to, yeah, totally echo and just, everything Earl said because she was kick ass Peach in this
Yeah,
movie. I would say she was probably my second favorite role in this movie. A very close second. I think her role in this was just flawless. And I mean, if you're a girl power, anything like that, you probably loved this role as well. I think she embraced just how great women can be and taking
right.
control of the situation and everything else. I thought she was a great protagonist in this.
Absolutely. I mean, she's in the games has had her damsel in distress moments, but most of the time she kicks ass. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
go back to just Mario 2. She's a player not only you select and play, but she dominates. Like she can
Mm-hmm.
float, she can do cool moves, and this was back in the 80s. So this was I can see this being a very, very big thing and a start for those that look to this kind of role and female empowerment and how this is like
Mm-hmm.
totally with roots that have been there. It's not something that you find a movie like 2023. Oh, of course they're going to make her powerful. They have to. No, she already
No.
has been, guys. She's had
Yeah.
these roles,
Yeah.
and she may look all princessy and dainty, but she's got some moves.
She does,
So
When
and
she was
she's that.
training Mario, right? When she was training
Yeah.
Mario, it's like I need a hero. That was that
Right.
scene, and
yeah,
oh man, she just killed it, right? When she was going through that maze, almost like flawlessly. Like, come on,
And
Mario, like. let's do
And how
this.
modest is she, right? Mario's like, well, how many times did it take you? And she was like, oh, a couple or whatever. And then finally it comes out, yeah, I did it the first try. And out of all cars, she gets the motorcycle. Like, she doesn't need a golf cart, like a go-kart. She wants the
Right.
motorcycle. She's totally in control,
She's
for
on
sure.
fire. Okay. Last but not least, there's so many more people we probably talk about, but last but not least, let's get into Jack Black. Bowser, Mr. Bowser. Los, you start with you. Go with your impressions and your thoughts on Mr. Jack Black.
Yeah, so I of course just mentioned Peach as my second favorite role, but I have to say this is just kind of perfect timing that Bowser was my favorite role. I think Jack Black did phenomenal, and I can't wait to hear what Earl has to say, because I feel like he thinks differently than me. But when you just think of what Bowser is, right, in general, he's this, he is this weird, creepy, Koopa King, right? And he just has a bunch of minions, and his one goal is this princess. And I think he really embodied that. And
Yeah.
it, but it was still fun, right? They tied like the royal wedding from Mario Odyssey into it, and they incorporated all these different and other sides of Bowser that it all worked. And of course it's Jack Black, so the music was what, in my opinion, set it over the top, performance wise.
Yeah, the piano scene for sure. Earl.
Yeah.
So let's get your thoughts on Bowser. Jack
Again,
Black.
Bowser wants to be the bad guy. Bowser is the bad guy. He's the antagonist. So he plays it well. But like I said already, it's cringe how his infatuation for Princess Peach and just gonna marry her, and she will. And there was a scene too. That's the piano scene, which great scene. Right when he did the song, and then he gets the information from a Koopa that Princess Peach is training, and he's doing the dun 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 dun. Tell me about it, and he's just going into this whole scene, and he's telling him, and the first thing he's like, "Well, does she like Mario or this?" I don't even think he knows the name, but he's getting a jealous, like he has that jealous side of him, and you could see it and you could feel it off the screen. He crushes the guy's fingers, and I don't know what the saying is. That's what I was trying to look up right now. What he says, because he says pain is
the best teacher. That's what he says.
That's what he said. Pain is the best teacher, and you're just like, oh, what a jerk, like whatever.
Yeah, he
But
played that well. Yeah,
yeah. But he's the king of the Koopas. He's there. He's the man. He's Bowser. Jack Black killed this role. Like again, if they had said, Bowser just or Jack Black just be you, he did it. But now you're embracing this Bowser character, and you're just like, this guy, like, as much as you want to hate him because he's that jerk bad guy. Again, I said cringeworthy bad guy because of how he's gonna marry the princess no matter what she says. I have two daughters, so obviously that plays in a little bit of where I'm at with this. If someone ever says I'm gonna marry them, and no matter, oh yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, Earl's with his shotgun ready to go. Let's go meet this guy.
Right? Yeah. And that was all part of it. I'm like, man, you're not even trying to like swoon the princess. You're like, here, look at my star. She's gonna fall in love with me because I have the star. And
it really shows a couple qualities. Obsessiveness. It shows just how much of a monster he is, and just it's like these real world things that have been applied. But at the same time, I've noticed that it's balanced well with a bit of the lightheartedness of the goofiness of what is Mario. I think in this it works. I think it's funny. I think it's a movie we have to remember is made for adults too. So it's not just a kids movie. I think here's a concept I want to throw out. I think that it's not a children's movie at all. And hear me out. I think it's an adult movie thrown in with things that will have the kids feel comfortable seeing. Like it's something almost like the reverse, how we've seen movies, oh, this is a kids movie, but man, they put some adult humor that's really funny for the adults. I think it's the reverse. I think they honestly made this for adults. Adults know if you're within your 30s and 50s, if you're going to see a movie of Mario, it's not going to be some badass, epic, award-winning. It's not that. It's not that. It's goofy. It's funny. It's a video game. So I think that they know already when they're making this movie for adults. The adults know it's got to be lighthearted. It's got to be cool, like, you know, in a way that I remember as a kid. And then the kids will follow along with, yeah, this is fun. It's animated. They look like toys that I know, or a video game. So that's where I think the genius of this movie is. I think that it drew an audience that primarily, and this is just my own humble opinion, I think specifically for adults, but kids followed along really well because it's something they were familiar with. So I will give major props to Hollywood for that. You played it really well. I think if they would have made this a movie for kids with adult humor, I think it would have failed because it would have been a movie that the adults would have sort of dismissed. Like, oh, it's cool, but you screwed up on that. You didn't give enough homage to the stuff I remember. Okay, it's for the kids. I get it. It's fun. It's a fun Mario movie.
It could have been the shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they just did it.
They just did it for every adult out there that remembers. They threw everything out there for you. All of it.
And you got clips of video games, you know, when you were playing the video game, like the huge bullet missile that would come out, right? And it was going to go to... Remember that on the video game, it literally covered the whole screen, and you would have to go into the crevasse and like duck under this poof poof, and it had the sound, the poof poof. And as that missile launched, it had that same sound. Dude, Mario, and then the whole
it's crazy, Damien. I didn't realize even until after also when I read some like editorial like opinions on this movie also, and like how people were talking about, I guess there was maybe some kind of, you know, political takes on this, right? And you know what, I just have to say, I don't want to get into all that type of stuff, but I just like how they didn't really try to play to any kind of agenda, and they just kind of stuck true to the franchise. And you know, they did pay the right homages, and and they didn't take anything too far. It was a fun movie, and honestly, I like, you know, Earl's daughter's a little bit older than I am, and they can probably enjoy it with him. But she's super young. I can't wait till she's a few years older, and I can see us watching this, you know, multiple times together. Like, this is a great family movie.
Absolutely. Last but not least, we're going to wrap up here soon and give our review. I think we pretty much all know where we're coming from with this, but I think that this movie, there's a portion of this movie that, a couple of them, that almost brought a tear to my eye. And I'll tell you, it's more like seeing this, first of all, happen. The fact that we're getting it, the fact that we have so beautifully done. The other would be hands down to the screenwriter to show the true nature of the relationship between Mario and Luigi. They're not just brothers, but they're best friends, and they go through everything together. And let's get real cheeseball, guys. I'm thinking of you guys. You guys, my co-host, Retro Game Night, remember the quote that I took this from the movie. Nothing can hurt us as long as we're together, guys.
Yep.
Aw.
Yeah.
Hearts.
They're holding.
But yeah, I think this movie played really well on that. I think that it's about a bond. If you have siblings, some can be your best friends, some cannot. Some you feel like, I love my brother, but I don't have that kind of relationship I have, let's say, with my sister or with my cousins. And this showed the bond of what a true bond was as a friendship too. They play together, they work together, and they got along well together. They cared about each other. They were nuts about each other. They want to make sure they were okay, you know, and it wasn't just, you know, messing around with each other all 24/7, you know, as brothers do. But that is my takeaway with this in a more meaningful sense. But I'm going to wrap up with a review. As you guys know, we do a very in-depth review, very scientific. And you're already laughing, Earl. You gotta get through this with me.
All right.
You're giggling. What are you working out? Like what is that?
Stretching? A little stretching, limbering up for this review.
Sweating,
right
I think.
Here, man.
I think he's sweating.
Sweating already, man. That's 2 times you're sweating. a very, very scientific way of going about this. We're just going to rate this by 3 levels as we do our gaming reviews. We got showcase, which is something you want to just hang up if it's a poster, if it's a game, if it's a movie, you want to tell everybody about it, and it can do no wrong for ages. Your second rating that we have is one and done, when you love the time you had with it, but it's just not worth again, no matter what it is. And the third would be toilet paper. Just poop. You don't like it. So, with that in mind, Mr. Earl Lawrence, you're up.
Oh
What
man.
is your review with the Super Mario Brothers movie? Go.
Surprise, surprise. I am gonna give this a showcase. Again, watched it twice in the movies. This movie had a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of different things about it. The storyline, the characters, the the voice cast outside of just who you understand as these characters are developing, the music, getting back to the 80s vibe and rock, and again that Kill Bill soundtrack, the Battle Without Honor or Humanity, that song. I showcase from beginning to end. It had me just let's go. It was exciting. It rainbow, like all different facets of this movie incorporated each and every or a lot of the games, from this very large franchise, and they were able to do it in a movie and keep you on edge for what we would hope to be multiple movies, and I hope that they do continue with this. But again, this was a showcase for many reasons.
Well said. Michael Losi, rating Super Mario Brothers movie. Go.
Yeah, also an easy one for me. And what gets me most excited is, I know, growing up in the 90s, right, we get VHS cassettes, and it seemed like it would take like over a year, right, for that to be released once it was finished in the movie theaters. And then DVDs came out, and it took like, I don't know, maybe like 6 months after. But
Right?
now it's streaming, right? I
Yeah.
feel like I can't wait for this to just hit it, because I heard it's going to come out soon. Because again, when I saw it the second time, there was just still so much I didn't even notice from the first time, and I can only imagine the third time still finding new things. And I think that's what Earl kind of said. It was right. Like, there was just so much into this whole entire movie. It was really well thought out. There was a lot of great character development, and I'm excited to see what this partnership with Illumination goes
Yeah.
in the future. Are they going to do a Zelda series, Kirby, Donkey
So
Kong?
much.
Who knows?
Who knows,
But I'm
man?
excited to find out. Yeah.
This is the
So
start. This is the
showcase.
beginning.
So yeah,
Showcase
showcase
all
this
the
one
way.
for sure,
Yeah.
and hopefully we have more to showcase.
Absolutely. Well, as you guys probably would know, I'm going obviously the same way. So, showcase, you can't get it. You can't get it better than this. You can't get better than Jack Black being in the main role that he is. You can't find a more eccentric, more funny, and more evil kind of guy to put in that role. You can't find a better, more stunning cast than what's in this movie. And I mean, you got all of these people. You're paying perfect homage to all the stuff that we know, the essence of what this podcast is. Retro Game Night. You're taking us back to what the meaning is, to its roots, and that is exactly what they did well. And I think that there is just no other way around saying that it's a showcase. It has to be shown to everybody. It has to be shown to anyone that doesn't know what a video game is. What is it? Like, what is a video game like? Well, watch this movie first and tell me what you think of it. This will be a good way to start. And that they made a movie and a whole plot over something that had such a loose plot in the whole film. I mean, or in the game, I'm sorry. Like, the game didn't have a very in-depth plot when it began. So for them to take just that little bit and expand it into a huge franchise, into now I'll call it epic movie, because it's epically done for what it is. It's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. I don't know how I'll feel about the next couple of movies or other Nintendo movies. I am trying to be realistic, but this is the most real review I think I've ever given with something that I love so much. And that says a lot, because for me, the Sonic movie was huge for me. I loved it. This takes over. like by far to me. So lastly, we're going to get 3 different opinions to close out. I want to know what you guys want to see in a sequel of Super Mario, the movie. What do you guys wish will happen? We obviously know at the end credit scene there's a Yoshi. What do you guys want to see in the next movie? Earl, you're the first to look like you're leaning to the microphone. Let's go.
I will have to go with Yoshi. Give me Yoshi. Give me some Super Smash Brothers type, vibe, because I did see a little bit of it when Donkey Kong versus Mario, when they were in that arena. Incorporate maybe some of that, but I keep with the storyline. I think don't steer too far away and don't get too crazy with it, but add those little things that we're still kind of missing that kind of is like, okay, well, I need, Yoshi, give me Yoshi, and maybe some Super Smash, and I think we'll be good. Just and the more Jack Black, right? So more of the, even though he's so creepy, keep the cast together.
You love to hate him.
That's what it is. You love to hate him, but keep the cast together, and hopefully they're on it for the long haul. Would hate to see if somebody kind of, for whatever reason, didn't continue. But I think keep the cast together. Let's get a cool Yoshi going, and I'm good with it.
Michael Osi, your thoughts?
Yeah, you're totally right. Yoshi was obviously missing in this movie, but those Easter eggs just kind of, it really handed towards, if there is going to be a sequel, he has to be a part of it. There would not be Super Mario World without Yoshi, right? So look, come on, let's get real here. I would like to see, I guess, more like Star Fox 64 stuff, or some other like homages. Metroid, right? We didn't see much Metroid, I don't think, in this. So there's some other in Zelda. So I feel like there's some other things they can kind of play on if they really want to, and hopefully they do. And if they do Super Smash Brothers, like Earl said, that would easily be an easy transition. So that would be cool.
Yeah. I want to see. You guys are gonna laugh. I want to see Pedro Pascal. I want to see him involved. You roll with me on this, guys. And I'm sorry for the podcast world. I want to say this. I want to see him play Yoshi.
Ooh.
I think that would be hilarious because it's him. It's like the Groot thing. You laugh thinking it's Vin Diesel, and then you're like, but he kills it, but it's Vin Diesel. That can work. Pedro Pascal, Yoshi. He's like the most rough guy in the world looking when he plays Mandalorian in Star Wars, and now it's like, put him in Yoshi. That's so contrasting. I think it works. Put him in there. Put him in there, guys.
Let's go, studios.
Anyway, guys, you heard our reviews. You heard exactly what you wanted to hear with us. You probably wanted to hear our opinions on this show about that. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you thought of Super Mario Brothers, and you know where to find us. We're on Instagram, we're on the web. But just in case you want to stalk some people and be creepy, Michael Losi, where can folks find you on Instagram?
Yeah, super simple. First and last name, Michael_Losi. Come and follow me. It's fun.
It's fun.
Earl, I don't know what else to say.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Bunches of fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
You guys can follow me on Instagram. Hey, Earl Lawrence on IG.
And that's it. No fun.
No
fun if you follow him.
No fun.
Yeah.
If you follow me, it's going to be chaotic, but you can follow me at Damien_DeCarlo. Also, collectively, you can find us at RetroGameNightPodcast.com. Don't forget, guys, you need to be calm, and please, game on. Good night, everybody.
Good night.